To verses 20, and that's where we will be reading from this morning. The book of Mark, chapter number 5, verse 1 to 20. They went across the lake to the region of Gerasene. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with impure spirit came from the tomb to meet him. This man lived in the tomb, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hill, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knee in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?" It's amazing that this is coming from a demoniac, yeah? that he even knows who Jesus is. We left it up last time with the disciples wondering, like, who is this man? And the demon here is saying, Jesus, Son of the Most High God. In God's name, do not torture me. For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. A large herd of the pig was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirit came and went into the pigs and the herds, and had about 2,000 in numbers rushed down the steep bank in the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and the countryside, and the people went to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw that the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pig as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he had mercy on you, So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. Let us pray. Almighty Lord, we thank you as we come to your word this morning. We want to pray that you'd make it crystal clear to us. And Lord, we know that we are diving in territory that has been dogged with controversy and misunderstanding. And how we pray that, Lord, the plain teaching of your word will bring light and understanding, but also that will illumine our hearts, and that you'll be with us even today. We give you praise, we give you honor because you are God, and we pray for your blessing, even that this word will minister to our lives. For this we pray in Jesus' holy name, and God proceed. Anytime we talk about demons, people tend to go two different ways. There are those who don't want anything to do with that topic, and they would rather not get it handled. They don't want to hear anything. But then there are those who become afraid, and they become so much like taken by fear, by demons. As a matter of fact, we are living at a time where either people are phobic or they are manic as it relates to this topic. But today we want to explore a healthy approach, even as we consider the text before us, of the activities of demons in the current world, but much more so, how do they affect us, but how we can live victoriously. We can live victoriously. The passage we have read is perhaps the most bizarre passage in the life of Jesus Christ. It's one which is very dramatic. As I even watched the video the first time, I was like, this is really dramatic. I know Jesus had many encounters, but this is a bizarre incident and dramatic incidents. But we have here Jesus confronting a man who was demon-possessed. We call it demoniac. And we want to look at this passage and understand the activities of demon, but more importantly, how can we live lives that are victorious in the blood of Jesus Christ. In the blood of Jesus Christ. We left last week when the disciples had been in a big storm. You remember that? And they were in a big storm. And now we pick the story with them having crossed over the lake to the region of the Gerasene. I was thinking about that, and I thought, like, it's funny that they got there. I am sure when they got there, the disciples were still wet. You remember the boat was almost swamped, and they had tried to do everything, and they were really shocked at who this man is. And while they are there, they discover that they landed where Jesus had told them to go. I mean, if only they had had Jesus right, it would have saved them a lot of panic and worry on the way. Jesus had told them, let's go to the other side. Jesus had not told them we will go underwater. He just told them we will go over the other side, and they arrive. And many times when we don't hear Jesus right, along the way we will find situations that will make us panic and get worried. But we do well to remember the words of Jesus Christ, who said, we are going over. We are going to get there. I'm sure when they got there, they were like, we should have just remembered he said we will get here. And when Jesus says we will get there, we will do what? We will definitely get there. He is the one who says, take him at his word. He says we will get there. It doesn't matter whether there will be a storm. It doesn't matter what will happen along the highway. He said we will get there. And if he said we will get there, we will get there. And so they found themselves where Jesus had told them to get there. One place I know that I'll find myself in is heaven, because he has said so. As long as he has said so, sometimes I feel like my body is not cooperating. Sometimes I feel like I'm going under. But I know that he will surely take me where he promised. That I am persuaded. That I am sure of. That I am sure of, that I will arrive at the destination where he promised that I will be at. And you remember Jesus had a long day of teaching. They had slept in the boat, and he had gone over the other side hoping that there will be no crowd, and he was hoping for rest. But on arriving on the other side, who meets him? He meets the demoniac. And one of the things I want us to consider this morning is to consider this man. I want you to consider this man. He is, we call him a demoniac. He's a man who is living in the gravesite. We are told about his sorry state. I mean, this guy, he's said to have an impure spirit, and he lives among the tombs. He lives among the tombs. He's dead spiritually, and he is living among the dead. So when you consider this man, he has made it impossible for people to come here. His work is to wail and to cry and to throw stones at people. People are afraid passing through here. He would be your worst neighbor. I don't know what your worst neighbor looked like, but this would be your worst nightmare if you had a neighbor like this, because he would be chasing everybody away, and he is the man. He has demons, and he says, we are many. And he actually chose the word legion. Legion is a Roman term of soldiers. It's a term in Roman military of about 6,700 soldiers. meaning that these demons are saying, we are many. We're not saying that that's the exact number in them, but we are just saying they are many. They have tormented him. They have tormented him. One of the interesting things we don't find in the Old Testament, we don't find a situation where there is somebody who is casting out demons. I don't know. It's very interesting that in the Old Testament we don't have events in where demons are being cast. But when you come to the New Testament, the whole place is like crawling with demons. I think they are out to sabotage the ministry of Jesus Christ. I think they are out to sabotage the ministry of Jesus Christ. I can imagine this man living in the tomb and he has this evil spirit, these demons. These demons are like angels that fell. We have angels who are created by God, and the head of angel, and they have a headship in terms of angels. They have a hierarchy among the angels. And we know that there was a time that they rebelled, and God exercised his authority. He cast those who fell, a third of them, out of heaven. And they form now what we call demons, and the head of demons is Satan himself. So in other words, demons are fallen angels. They are spirits that can be able to influence even human being. And they are influencing this man. Look at how they have influenced him. He is living in isolation. Look at how they are influencing him. They are influencing him to be violent. We are told that they could try to bind him with chains, and he could break these chains on the leg and on his body torso and on the hands. He would break them. He will search in a sorry state. Consider the depravity of this man, living in cemeteries and in chain. This is a man who we would put in prison today because of his state. I am just reminded here that human beings, sometimes we are helpless. We don't have solution to some of this problem until God comes in and brings the solution. Human solution was to bind this man. Human solution was to try and restrain him. Human solution was to isolate him, make him live in the grave. But Jesus looked at him and looked at how desperate this man is. And I know many of you are just feeling like, thank God, I am not demon possessed. I'm not like that guy. That is a way off case. But let me tell you, that is one activities of demons that we see. Demons are really involved in a number of activities today. Some of them much more subtle that we are not able to tell. For example, deception. Deception is a main way today. They are the power behind false doctrine. Like Satan would come in this church and be behind the person who is the pulpit and propagate false doctrine. That's an attack that is not easy to tell. Many of us could be deceived in looking at things, or could be tempted in one way or another. And so even as we consider this one extreme case of demon possession, do not write off the works of demons and just think that they operate in that particular arena. No, they operate in much more subtle ways today than we are able to tell. And the works and their influence is in the world today, As you see people turning to occults and to false doctrine, as you see more people more addicted to entertainment more than the word of God, as we see systems of this world that are against God, there are whole systems that are influenced by demons today. And so even as we consider this one case, let's remember that the work of demons in the world we live in today is real. And so many a times we also be reminded that we may not have a proper solution to, apart from what Christ has, we are completely helpless. I can imagine how people of this society felt about the man. I mean, what do they do about the man? He's not even allowing them to pass that way. He's just wailing and he's out there. Their solution was to bind him and it's not working. They are feeling helpless. But Jesus is the one I want us to consider. Just now, let's leave about the man. Let's now stop considering the man. Let's consider Jesus Christ the Master. Now, forget about the demon-possessed man for a minute. Consider the Master. I want you to see the compassion of Jesus. That Jesus would brave a storm and would come after a busy day of ministry where he's tired just for this one particular person. The world would discard him. The world would not want to see him. The world would consider him written off. The world would want him to live in another society. But for Jesus, he braves a storm just to come and have an encounter with him. What compassion Jesus had on this man. What compassion that Jesus had on this man. For everybody else, this was a person they would write off. For everybody else, this is a person they would not want. But for Jesus, this is a person he can change and turn around and turn around. And Jesus is in the business of changing people. He sees people quite differently. He sees people quite differently. We see their sins, but Jesus sees how he can forgive their sins. When we see a drunk, Jesus sees a deacon. We see a person who is a drug addict, but Jesus sees a preacher. We see a person who is a prostitute, but Jesus sees a choir member. Jesus sees you for what you can become and for not what you are today, because he's able to change you and turn you around. I am sure when this demon saw Jesus, he probably thought, I have more people to torment today. When the boat was pulling up, he was like, don't these people know that people don't pass through this route? Particularly when it's in the evening, I am going to show them who I am. But for Jesus, it was like, yes, he is the person that I need to meet today. He's the person I'm going to cause a difference in his life. I am going to turn him around. A case that society had given up on. A case that society thought there was not going to be a solution. But Jesus had compassion. Did he not come to change people? Did he not change that Simon, the cursing fisherman, to be Simon Peter, the mighty preacher? Did he not change Saul, the persecutor of the church, to be the Paul, the preacher, the brilliant missionary? Did he not change people around him to be what he wants them to become? And Jesus is here today, and it doesn't matter how people see you today. He sees you different. He sees you for what you can become, and much more importantly, for what he can make you to become. For what he can make you to become. Now, I want you to consider the confrontation that Jesus had with the man. This man came running towards Jesus, and once he comes running towards Jesus thinking he's going to torment him, as soon as he approached, he realizes this is not his ordinary client on this road. This is not a person he can torment. Once he comes near, he falls down, acknowledging the lordship of Jesus Christ. It does say in verse 6, when he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knee in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, do not torture me." I love this, that when the man saw Jesus, he ran, probably at first thinking, I'm going to torment these guys, I'm going to throw stones, I'm going to produce those shrieks and wails that are going to scare them and they're going to run. But when he comes to Jesus, he realizes, this is Jesus, the Son of the Most High God. This is the one who created me. Angels were created. They were created by God. And this is a creature. He realizes I was made by him. And you know, they have spiritual intelligence. Let me tell you, demons and angels, when they come near spiritual reality, they recognize that spiritual reality more than human beings. More than human beings. One day, we were with a friend of mine who serves in the military, and another guy who is a senior military officer came approaching. I did not know the ranks. You know, these military ranks, unless you civilians, you are very much ignorant about some of these things. And so me, I don't know who this person is, and I just know he's a military officer, and this other is a military officer. And immediately the person approached. I saw this guy stand up and hold his arm like this. And he's standing, and I'm like, what's wrong with you, dude? You know, immediately he's able to recognize the rank of this senior military guy. For me, who is an ordinary guy, I'm not able to tell me if all of them are military officers. But I'm not able to recognize who he is. And I want to tell you, this demon is able to recognize who Jesus is. Shame on you if today you do not acknowledge the Lordship of Jesus Christ, because demons do. That's what they say, don't you believe? That's what James wrote, don't you believe in Jesus? It says, even demons do and they tremble. They don't just do it, they do it and they do what? They tremble. For you who thinks like Jesus Christ is just another person, let me tell you, demons are way much ahead of the game. They know who Jesus is. They actually shudder in his presence. This guy just fall prostrate. I think it's a good picture of what will happen at the end age, because we are told that every knee shall bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth. Every knee shall bow. The angels and the creatures in heaven, the human beings on the planet of earth, and those under the earth, they will bow and they will say, Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. And for you who have doubt that demons will bow, here you have credible proof that day they will bow and acknowledge the Lordship of Jesus Christ. They realize he has authority over them. And this gives me strength as a believer. This gives me strength and actually liberate me from fear. There are people who are always living in fear of demons. The one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. The one who is in you will cause them to tremble. It's not for you to tremble. The one who is in you will cause them to tremble. It's not the other way around. That this demon is actually trembling at the feet of Jesus Christ and saying, what do you want to do with us? And he's saying, do not torture us. What does it mean that do not torture us? They know the end. Demons, actually, they can teach us a lot of theology. If I was to use a different title for my sermon today, I would just say theology taught by demons. First of all, they acknowledge who Jesus is. Secondly, they even know the end of things. They even know that they will be tortured. For you who is saying there is no hell, oh, let me tell you, demons are way ahead of the game. They know they will be tortured. And they are like, do not touch us just yet. You know that one day you put us in hell. We know that one day you will bind us, but not yet. Please, not now. Please, not now. And for you who today does not believe in the existence of hell, demons can teach you a bit about that. And now Jesus commands the man and tell him, come out of this man in pure spirit, in verse 8. And at the command of Jesus Christ, they just obey and they come out of the man. They come out of the man. And when they come out of the man, they are sent to the pigs. They just say, send us to the pig. I was looking at this passage and I was wondering, why is it that demons love to inhibit the body? Why is it that they just don't want to operate in open space? They are coming from a man and they're not just saying, let's go into the air around this region. They're just saying, let's go into the pigs. I think for them, they find more ways of being habitable in bodies. And so they get into the pigs. And when they got into the pigs, the large crowd of pig, about 2,000, was able to drown. Somebody was doing the arithmetic and just saying if there were 6,000 demons and there are 2,000 pigs, how many demons went into each pig? Yeah? And they were just saying, imagine all those demons, they were in one person. And no wonder they could not even be able to bind him. So the pigs drown. The pigs drown. For those of us who love sausages, we are like, what a loss. Wow. What? 2,000 pigs? That is so many sausages. Yeah? Those are so many sausages that we would love. But Jesus is doing this to say, the value of this son of mine is much more important than the 2,000 pigs. I would rather have the 2,000 pigs perish than have this one single individual perish. Actually, Jesus is doing this because these are Jews, and Jews are not even supposed to keep pigs. These are backslidden Jews who are keeping pigs. Actually, I think it's poetic justice for them. They shouldn't be having this animal. According to the Jews' law, I'm not saying it's wrong to keep pigs today, but I'm just saying according to the Jews' law, by then they were not even allowed to come near pigs. But these are Jews who have forsaken the law, and they are now keeping pigs. And Jesus goes on and just throws the pigs on the lake. and on the lake, because you are of so much value that Jesus would rather lose so many other things just for the sake of your soul. One single soul. For Jesus, it was about the soul of this man. But for the community, it was like, Jesus, get out of here. I mean, we are interesting. Instead of rejoicing that Jesus had done nice, wonderful things, the whole community comes and they see the man. He's now clothed. He's now calm. He's not shouting at them, not throwing stones. He's not breaking chains. He is calm, composed. And instead of saying, please, Jesus, come. We want to invite you. Please come and preach in this region. There are so many demons in this region. Come and cast them out. The society is like, get out of here. We would rather have our pigs and our demons. Let us stay the way we are. And many a times we don't welcome Jesus. We want to stay the way we are. We are so used to our status in life that we would rather not change anything. We would rather not change anything. We have considered the man. We have considered Jesus Christ and what he did. But I want you to consider the miracle that happened here. That this man was changed by Jesus. When the pigs ran out and they were killed, this man was able to be even clothed by Jesus. Jesus changed him. Jesus changed him. He was no longer crying and running around. He was no longer cutting himself and blood coming out of his body. He became calm because of what Jesus is able to do. Jesus has power even over the spiritual world. There is no demon that can stand in the presence of Jesus Christ. There is no demon that can stand in the presence of Jesus Christ. Now, not just that this guy also now, because he's changed, he now becomes committed. Changed people become committed people. Jesus changed us so that we can be committed. Now, this guy says, when he sees Jesus has been sent away from this community of Decapolis, he's now about to get into the boat. He says, Jesus, I'm going to go with you. You have changed me. The longing in him for a different life had been realized through Jesus Christ. And he says, I am now committed to you. I will go wherever you want me to go. And Jesus, he becomes committed to Jesus Christ. Many of us, we may not have been in an extreme case like the demoniac, but we lived in a world where we were influenced by the gods of this world, and we were under the spell of the devil. When we were delivered, are we committed to Jesus Christ? I love this guy because he knew that I was delivered to be committed. I was delivered so that I can follow him. I was not just delivered so that I can just feel good about myself. I was not just delivered so that I can just be free. I was delivered so that I can be committed to him. And he becomes committed to him. But Jesus tells him, no, don't come with me. I want now to commission you. Jesus changed him. He became committed to Jesus, and now he's commissioned. He said, don't come with me. Just go to your village, because we are much more important evangelists in our own community than in elsewhere. Sometimes we love to go for mission. I mean, if you would say, how many want us to go for mission in Njuguna? You will see a couple of volunteers. But let me ask you, have you shared the gospel with your neighbor? Have you shared the gospel with those people you live under the same roof? Have you shared the gospel with those who are near you? And Jesus says, like, you are just going to be a powerful witness here. When these people see you, when they see your changed lifestyle, you will have much more fruit here than coming with me. And Jesus is telling him, like, you will have impact here. And God would want us to have impact wherever we are. And that's where God would want us to have impact wherever we are. So as we have considered the man, as we have considered the master, and as we have considered the miracle of what Jesus Christ did, even as we think about the supernatural, God's power over the supernatural world, what shall we say about this? A couple of things, and I will be done. Number one, any person who is in Christ cannot be possessed by demons. You can be influenced, you can be tempted, you can be deceived, but you cannot be possessed. Demons always will not find room where Jesus Christ is. If you have Jesus in your heart, they will flee at the presence of Jesus Christ. And so the much more important thing you can do is to make sure that Jesus Christ is in your life. Some people ask me, how do I fight off demonic spell in my life? Just make sure Jesus Christ is there. When Jesus Christ is there, demons will tremble. They will flee at his presence. They cannot stand the presence of Jesus Christ. And so one of the things we want to do is to make sure that the presence of Jesus Christ is preeminent in our hearts, and demons will not have a place. Demons will not have a place. Amen? Number 2, we cannot live in perpetual fear of demons' attack when we have Jesus. One way that we have been delivered is being delivered from fear. We can actually live lives where the church, the name of Satan is mentioned more times than the name of Jesus Christ. I go to a service and I hear the name of devil being mentioned more times than the name of Jesus Christ. And I'm like, you are missing the point. The church is about glorifying Jesus Christ. When he is lifted up, they cannot stand. We are not here to advertise Satan. He is our adversary. We are here to proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. Amen? We cannot again also be ignorant of his work, particularly in terms of deception and in his influence in terms of attacks. We cannot be ignorant of his attacks in the world we are living in, but we are sure that we have victory in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen? We have victory in the name of Jesus Christ in our lives. And just like demons will not stand in the presence of Jesus Christ on that day, they cannot stand when Jesus Christ is present in our lives today. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you. The reason why you came into this world was to overcome the work of the devil. That's what your word says, that you came to overcome the work of the devil. And we thank you that in your ministry you demonstrated power and authority over the spiritual world. And we know that even as we build your kingdom today, and you are present in our midst, you have such power over the spiritual world. We realize that those who are not born again are living under the spell of the evil one. They are under his attack. And we want to pray that Jesus Christ, would you have mercy upon them as you had mercy on this person. I just want to pray that you would break the chains. Society has no solution. Society has no solution that is viable for people who are under the attack of demons. But you do. You saved this man and delivered him. And so I pray that you deliver your people today who are under the attack. And I want to pray the Lord, you'd build your church to be such a strong force so that it will not be overrun by the power of the evil one. And I pray that, dear Lord, you'd help us to be able to discern the work of the evil ones and to be able to even reject it in the name of Jesus and to have authority over the spiritual world. We thank you and we bless you for your word today. For this our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.